We received this safety grant from the state of Tennessee. And in this safety grant money, what we try to do is to whatever safety item is necessary. We've done it, we've utilized it on several different things throughout the years. And on safety vestibules and putting the entryways in, the Raptor system. Part of the funding is utilized for the Raptor system. Each year we have yearly expenses that we do. That's the system when you enter the school where they run the background check on all visitors. So let me tell the board that this is important money. And one of the things that we really try to do and put on this is communication with our buses. Now, this will also entail radios at each school. And we utilize that as base stations will be in each school and the central office. They will be installed with battery backup. So in case of an electrical failure like we had the other day, our phone systems now on the VoIP, they go out. And so this way, we will have communication utilizing the existing radio towers within the E91 system, and that Mr. Sullivan is by far a great expert on. So I will defer to him about recommendations. He was at the bid opening today and talked to the vendors who did that. Some vendors may be online with us tonight. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. Members of the board, this has been something that's been in the works for several years. Some discussion that me and Director Curtis had a couple of years ago on the need in having live communications anywhere in the county for the school buses. It's not a matter of if, it's when that we need instant communication with the buses in the administration building. As time moves out and technology advances, the chances of the cellular network going down, power failures, it's happened in the past, it'll happen again. So when Director Curtis secured, from what my understanding is, $38,000 pushed towards this project, we initially did out an initial kind of a wish list on what this was going to cost. We did obtain a bid earlier this year, and it was, I don't recall exactly, it was above $70,000, and we're like, there's no way this is even entertainable. So over discussion over several months, myself and Director Curtis had come up with, well, if we could purchase the equipment, I can do the installs and the majority of the equipment if need be. I've since gotten tower certified to be able to legally climb towers and be able to install that equipment properly. And so when we put this out to bid, we did it in 3 options. Had 4 vendors that were interested, and 3 actually submitted bids. So if you look at, we'll start with Airwave Communications out of Hendersonville.
Roy, before we do that, could you explain what option 1, option 2, and option 3 is to the board?
Yes, sir. Option 1 is turnkey operation. That's for them to come in, install the equipment, bring it up and operational. That includes labor and equipment and everything that is entitled to that. Then option 2 is if they were to do the installs at the tower sites, and I would do, and with help from others, would do the installs in the buses and the schools. We would try to come up with different ways to make this money go as furthest that it can go and come within budget. Option 3 is if I did the total install myself on the towers and buses and school buildings, which would take much, much longer. But like again, Director Curtis has been very passionate about getting these radios and communications at the buildings and buses. And so this is one way we proposed it to be able to get this project and move it forward. Have any questions on the bid options? So moving forward on bid option 1 for Airwave Communications, that bid come in at $53,238. And I don't have a copy of the breakdown, so if something's different, let me know. Like I said, that's total install of all systems and getting it up and operational. Option 2 is $50,763. That left option 3 at $44,913. So still over what we had budgeted. Next one will be Communications Evolutions. Same bid options were offered. They gave it more of a breakdown of different options to try and save money on different aspects, whether it be licensing, external equipment. That's what your last alternate option price is on the right-hand side of some of the savings if they were to that were cut and that would need to be added to be able to make those options work. So without going into detail on those, the option one was $58,366.80 on page 2. Bid option 2, with the tower installs, come in at $53,548.80. Bid option 3, come in at $42,748.80. And without going into too much detail on this, one of the things we put in the bid specs, there's different forms of digital radio communications. One of them is MotoTurbo IP Site Connect. There's standard digital mobile radio. We took off trying to make this proprietary to leave it more open source. That makes it more available for more cost-effective equipment and not try to pinpoint into a certain vendor. We've had issues with that in the past, trying to get away from that. Also makes additional equipment in the future be eligible for Homeland Security funding, especially from the public safety sector, because they're cutting down on the type of communications equipment you can buy if it's not P25 compatible, and Homeland Security does not approve of it. You're not allowed to buy it. So this opens the door to be able to allow for that as well. The first 2 bids do not allow, that equipment is not allowed by Homeland Security, so I'm worried that'll become an issue later down the road. Then our third bid is Middle Tennessee Two-Way. This was a little bit different DMR, this being a Kenwood system. Kenwood brings their prices down on somehow how their equipment is set up. Gives a couple more options that I definitely want to take a look into consideration. But on bid option 1, we had $39,787.10. That's total installation. Bid option 2 was $37,387.10. And option 3 was $34,387.10. The advantage to this bid that jumps out at me is that the low bid for Middle Tennessee Two-Way is cheaper than the first 2 bids of only partial installation. Also with the digital format that this offers, even though we're slightly over roughly $1,500 on what has been awarded to the school system, is I've asked Mr. Curtis to entertain being able to offer a talk group, if you would. In the digital radio realm, you're not just channels anymore, you're talk groups. So the system that we have envisioned will be one dedicated channel for the school buses, and that's all they'll use. There'll be another dedicated channel strictly for the admins, so they won't interrupt talking to each other. They can change and talk to each other if they want to, but Director Curtis had an issue last year with a last-minute snow closing, had no way to communicate with some of the buses, so that would be one instance of being able to immediately call and cancel the bus route. That would enable emergency management on my end of things if we had a major incident, to give an alternate talk group that doesn't bother anybody local, it doesn't bother the school system. Now that would entail me having to buy my own radios, and that's fine. That would be emergency management function in the future. With that being said, I would ask that you dedicate the $38,000 that was awarded through grant funding. I will pay the difference out of my emergency management budget, which I have available to be able to put towards that. So does that make sense? So,
And that is if we did option 1 from Middle Tennessee Two-Way for $39,787.10. Is that correct?
And that's them doing the installs with us, the schools. So I've explained to Mr. Curtis, I think we can get more projects done in the future if multiple agencies work together. Hope to maintain this equipment, bring that cost down long term, plus keep the door open for Homeland Security money later down the road. So to me, this is a win-win situation. So.
And Roy is part of the communications group too, that they work as part of the emergency management agency in this part of the state, this division or district. And hopefully with this communication district, we can get some more funding to even enhance this as we move along. I do own Kenwood equipment personally and find it to be outstanding. And like I say, I have Kenwood radios that I operate, and on certain type of radios, that's all I want is Kenwood. But Roy knows it, he's experienced it too, and Kenwood equipment is to me, I think, just as good as the Motorola equipment is, although Motorola's got the name. Is that?
Yes, sir. And like I said, I want to reiterate this is the long-term commitment. We're trying to keep on funding coming into Camden County through Homeland Security. And some of the things on the Homeland Security side are different on the school system side. I understand that. This helps secure that it keeps the door wide open so we can grab whatever grant funding we can down the road. So, because a lot of this Homeland Security funding, most of the time, is 100% funded. So that's my goal, is to keep that money coming in.
And Roy will maintain all the equipment. He'll maintain everything as part of the E911. So it's a win-win for all of us. And it's a lot better than that $70,000 quote that we got earlier this year.
Well, let me ask you clarification on that. That was one of the concerns with going into the different bid options, was if I did the installs on either the tower equipment, the buses, whatever, it would affect the warranties on the new equipment. The vendor said, well, we have a hard time honoring that warranty if you do the install. Didn't really think of that initially, so I'm 100%. They do the installs, but the warranties cover everything, so we're protected. And then at the point where we need to maintain it down in the future, and we can also add to the system. If we have dead spots, we can add to the system, so it's expandable. So,
Roy, would you explain to the board where our tower sites currently are that we would utilize as part of this?
That's a two-part question. Currently we have 5 sites throughout the county. We have 3 tower sites and 2 water tanks. As you'll see on the Middle Tennessee two-way quote, there is a map showing the radio coverage. This is what is initially proposed. That could change as we roll this system out. One of the things that I have to take into consideration on my end is that there is a new water tank being built on Hollow Springs Road. It's going to be 110 feet tall. I spoke with the Public Works Director today. That's estimated to take up to 13 months to complete. That's how long the contract is. We currently have one of our law enforcement and ambulance repeaters on that site, so that may be one of these areas that one of these repeaters go to better serve the Braidable area. But that would be kind of a work in progress as we work and build this out. Our other site is at the 911 Center, 180-foot tower. We have another tower site here in Woodbury behind the old package store. We have a 180-foot tower on Pleasant Ridge that was paid for 100% by Homeland Security funding, and the tune about $172,000 about 8 years ago. And then we utilize the water tank in Auburntown. So out of all them different sites gives us multiple options to be able to build this out.
And our schools can utilize that as well on those tower sites. And board members, I personally looked at the Pleasant Ridge. We have an amateur radio repeater on Pleasant Ridge that we utilize for emergency purposes. And I've been to every school in the county, and it hits that tower at every school. West Side was just a little bit diminished because we're shadowed a little bit by one of the hills there, but it's still workable and utilized from every part of the county, which is good. And that's just one tower. We got 2 others.
And if I can add to this, I don't think I briefed you on this the other day, but going back to your map showing the coverage, one of the vendors had stated that they think with using mobile coverage and all the buses in the schools that we can do it with just 2 towers. Wouldn't even need the one down here in town. So that gives additional options to put that repeater wherever we need to that's going to better serve the coverage area. But like I said, we can adjust that as needed. We just need to get approval on this to move forward.
The Auburntown Road there before you get to the bridge, is that still a dead spot? Or?
Down at the base of the hill, yes. It's a bit of a radio no man land right there. It's not as bad with the mobile coverage as it is the portable coverage, but we're just focused on mobile coverage.
How many buses are we covering?
21 is what I quoted.
21?
And that is the private-owned buses too. That includes them.
And there was the discussion we had on that was to use mag mounts so that it doesn't require any drilling into the buses, because it takes away that labor cost and that way if we have to move it from bus to bus we can. So.
Well, I see 21 on airways, but I don't see 21 units on these other pads. I just see 3. Kenwood 3.
Those are the repeaters, the radio repeaters that transmits to all the radios. Which specific quote are you looking at?
Middle Tennessee two-way. Where are all the radios on there? I see speakers. Installation for 21. I don't see 21 on there anywhere.
Mr. McMackins, if you look at where it says 30, that NX-3 820HGK, that's the model number. And we're doing that because we're installing those same radios, mobile radios with power supplies in the schools. So that's where that is located on that, where it says 30 instead of 21. Again, we're having all 6 schools plus the central office, or all 7 schools plus the central office.
Thank you for catching that, because on the other bids, it is broken down 21 and 9 for the schools. So it's still a total of 30s. The only difference I asked for that to be separate is for the school. The 9 radios at the schools, they'll have a base station microphone instead of a hand microphone. So they just combined it on that quote. So thank you for catching that.
What kind of warranty does Kenwood come with?
What's that?
The warranty for the Kenwood?
5-year.
5-year warranty?
Yes, sir.
That parts, labor, everything?
Yes.
Got any more questions for Roy?
So what is our final 39,787? And then we still don't know exactly what we got in grant?
$38,000 is what Ms. Bonnie just texted me.
38.
Yes, sir. That's verified.
And then you said something about funds would take care of the difference, is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Derek, you got any questions?
I don't. From what I'm hearing, if they're going to help us out and we can get the full installation without him having to climb the towers and install anything, and plus we'll have the warranty to go with it, I say go with Middle Tennessee two-way on the full installation.
Anybody else have any questions? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to approve the Middle Tennessee two-way option number 1, $39,787.10.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. And you are gonna make up the difference.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
So that'll be $1,787.10 to be paid by the E911 or paid by
Out of the EMA budget,
out of the
with the
out of
understanding
the
that,
EMA budget. Okay.
with the understanding that I can have a talk group to use on that system in exigent circumstances.
Thank you.
motion's been made and seconded. Call the roll.
Motion made by Mr. Van, seconded by Mr. Mullins to approve the bus radio bids for $38,000 to install a radio network for Cannon County Schools. Option 1 from Middle Tennessee two-way, and with $1,787.10 being paid through the EMA budget. Mr. McMackis.
Aye.
Mr. Mullins.
Aye.
Ms. Thomas.
Aye.
Chairman Fan.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, 4 ayes and no nays.
Thank you, Roy.
Thank you.
Item number 4, consider action on board policies 4.100 through 4.805. 3 minutes, Mr. Curtis.
As we discussed at the meeting, at the workshop, last evening, these are policies dealing with instructional program. The most important thing that we do is provide instruction for our students. And it's something that I believe is very, very important. And all you're saying that you have looked at these policies and reviewed those. Many of these policies, some of the, I'm looking at the list, many of these policies were revised back last year during the same month, and even one as recently as September the 10th. So you looked at these, and all this says is that you've approved the review of those policies. Is that quick enough?
That's quick enough. Anybody have any questions or concerns? Derek, you good?
I'm good.
I will say that Diane Hickman emailed me earlier today, but it's not regarding this policy, but the policy since the 81 Act has occurred, we need to go back, and I'll do that for the December meeting, Mr. Chairman, to revise the chairman's responsibility of signing checks. Now that resolves to the department head, which is myself, and the finance director under the 81 Act. So we'll need to modify the responsibilities of the chairman of the board that they will no longer sign checks because of the 81 Act. But I'll have that ready for you at the December meeting.
That's not a problem. All right,
But if I can get a motion, if we can get a motion that these were reviewed, this will go into the record.
do I have a motion?
I make a motion,
Motion's been made.
Approve
Do I
these.
have a second?
I'll make a second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Call the roll.
Motion made by Mr. McMakin, seconded by Ms. Thomas to approve the review of the County Board of Education policy, Section 4, instructional program 4.100 through 4.805. Mr. McMakin.
aye.
Mr. Mullins. Ms. Thomas.
Aye.
Chairman Finn.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, 4 ayes, no nays.
All right. We discussed this quite a bit in the workshop. I've got some dates. It's a scheduled planning budget workshop. Got November the 17th and November the 30th and December the 14th. Anybody have any problems with those dates?
I'm good.
Gonna send out a reminder, Mr.
Mr. Chairman, I will send out reminders, and I will also, I've talked with Douglas Jennings, and we'll get with Diane to do an intro to Budget 101 at the 11/17, that's next Tuesday night meeting. We will have a Budget 101 workshop that you will be looking at the budget, examining the proposed budget, and also getting the nuts and bolts locally. And then at the others, I will be in touch as soon as I get a free moment. I'll get in touch with Marianne Dursky at the state and see if she will zoom in on the 30th and give you the state perspective on that. And then get with Mr. Torres to see if he might can be with us on the 14th. As we move along, you'll be more familiar with the budget, and then you'll get the lovely stuff in regard to the BEP also, which that is very, very complicated, as you well know, and many of you have already dealt into that. Wade and I were at a podcast the other night. That's pretty well what we dealt with a lot on that podcast was the BEP. So a lot of stuff to study in regard to the BEP, and that's where Ben is looked at, one of the recognized experts. He and Ms. Dursky, and I'm sure Ms. Dursky in her presentation will give you lots of information on the BEP.
All right. Motion to approve November the 17th, November the 30th, and December the 14th as budget workshop. Do I have a second?
I second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Call the roll.
Motion made by Mr. Fan, seconded by Ms. Thomas to schedule strategic planning / budget workshops for the following dates: Tuesday, November 17, 2020, 6 p.m., Monday, 11/30, 2020, November the 30th, 2020 at 6 p.m., and Monday, December the 14th, 2020 at 6 p.m., all at the County Board of Education. Is that correct, Mr. Chairman?
That's correct.
At the County Board of Education Central Office Boardroom. Mr. McMakin.
Aye.
Mr. Mullins.
Aye.
Ms. Thomas.
Aye.
Chairman Fan.
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, 4 ayes and no nays.
Safety report was given at the workshop. Item number 6, item number 7, director's comments.
Mr. Chairman, you will receive the financial report, was in your packet.
3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay, I'm going to speak around here. I wish my day had been 3 minutes today. But as we sent out, we just recently sent out press releases. Our COVID numbers are up, folks. Way up. We had a surge today that put us over 300 total contacts and total cases of positive. We had an all-time high for the county today of 88 active cases in Cannon County. So ladies and gentlemen, we need to look at wearing masks. I've been in communication with the local health department, our regional health department, Dr. Don Grisham, and also at the state health department, the state level with Dr. Michelle Fiscus. They have recommended, with our new numbers going up like they have gone up, they have recommended that Cannon County schools, all elementary schools, the high school is already, because of their numbers, it will be going to total distance learning until November the 30th. And what has happened, the state is now recommending to us that we go, because of our COVID count, that we go up in that and follow suit just like the high school is doing. So again, our cases have gone up. Yesterday, you know, we were at 240, and then this morning we were at 240, and now yesterday we were at 240, and then it went up yesterday afternoon to 283, and I'm just looking at contacts there. And as this has moved forward, I mean, the numbers have gone completely up now. My latest count by Nurse Leslie, and they were still revising as of this afternoon, and that was 295 active contacts with 26 staff, and then 5 others, and then that even moved forward. So we are really going up in our cases and in our contacts. We've never had this many cases, actually active cases, since we started doing the counts. So I would advise everybody, please use masks, encourage masks. Here's what's going to occur. Tomorrow will be our date for teachers to get with their students and to prepare them. We're going to be sending out paper packets tomorrow. The high school, this is irrelevant to them because they're already doing this. They've been doing this since last Thursday. So that's already been taking place at the high school level. But at the elementary level, we've got to have time to get the teachers with their students, to get them prepared to not see them again until November the 30th. I'd like to compliment Mr. Brian Coper and the IT team. We have done incredible work. We just got in, Brian, please help me out here, 385 Chromebooks just a few days ago, correct? Is that right, Brian? You want to tell the board that? Okay, not bad for memory. I saw one 386 Chromebooks. Brian, we have enough now to place back what we borrowed from the civics grant, and then plus do 4th and 5th grade, correct, Mr. Cofer? Now, some of those have already been delivered. They worked very, very hard. Wade was there this morning, and they were doing and saw what our crew was doing, and they have done yeoman's work just in the past day. And Brian, you have already deployed 4th and 5th grades have been delivered and deployed to which schools? So they will be able to give those Chromebooks out in them tomorrow. All right, so that means that all 4th and 5th graders by the end of this week will have Chromebook availability. Now, if they don't get those and we don't get them distributed at Woodland and Woodbury Grammar, what we're going to do there, they will be offered to pick up during meal distribution on the 16th. So the schools will deploy those on that first meal distribution on November the 16th. However, if we can get that and work on that very hard, we may get some of those distributed at the meal distribution on November the 12th, which is our first distribution. I would like to compliment Ms. Jennifer Insell also, working with our cafeteria staffs, that we will be doing meal distributions on November the 12th, November the 16th. Let me clarify that. On Thursday, November the 12th, we will give enough meals for 2 days. On that Monday, the 16th, we will have enough meals for 5 days. On November the 23rd, that Monday, we will have enough meals again for 5 days. So our students will be covered through Thanksgiving. That's going to be working very, very hard. November the 23rd, that Monday, they're on Mondays. The first one's on Thursday. We get 2 meals out to our students. The second one is The second date is Monday, November the 16th. And again, there again, 5 days of meals. And then what we're going to provide on November the 23rd, we've already said we were going virtual on the 23rd and the 24th. But what we're going to do now is we're going to provide meals on the 23rd. And that way that those meals can go out, and we will do 5 days for Thanksgiving. We don't want any student to go hungry over the time that we're out. So our food service personnel are working incredibly hard to get this done, but they're going to get it done. And I appreciate Ms. Insel's work on that. During also those days, the 12th, the 16th, and the 23rd, we can distribute packets to our younger students that are in need of those that don't have the Chromebooks. But we're still going to offer those other Chromebooks that we can check out in our check-in, check-out system that will allow. The individual schools will handle the distribution of those. If they know of someone who is in need of a Chromebook at those early ages, kindergarten through 3rd grade, then we're going to try to get them a device. We have enough devices that through our other program have been turned in that we can get this done for that. We also have later in the year, we're hoping to receive more funding from another grant. And we're into that grant. When we get it and we know that we've got that funding, Brian, how far down can we go, we think, with that other funding? That won't put you on the spot, but I will. And how far do you want to go down to that lower grade levels? As if this were to occur again, and it may, then with this other funding that we get, when we get that done. So Brian, you want to talk about the other ones that we possibly can do?
The other funding Mr. Curtis is talking about is $114,000 that's already been put on the table pending review of quite a bit of paperwork. And they're looking at a lot of stuff on this. They're looking at time windows of when certain things were purchased, devices were purchased, and it's a reimbursement for every 3rd device purchased from March the 1st through the end of September, I believe. And we can potentially get up to $114,000, provided they approve all of the windows and purchases we made. And I got some more information to get back to them. One of the gotchas on that was delivery. We were supposed to have delivery of everything, and we just got those Chromebooks in, so that was what we were waiting for, to free up some of the money that was kind of up in the air. So I'll be turning that in, and hopefully we'll be able to get most, if not all, of that funding. And we will definitely be able to roll in another grade. And I would suggest making sure each teacher has a Chromebook at that point, and have a discussion on K through 2, what's appropriate for them as far as devices. My personal opinion is devices for them would probably be best suited to stay at the school, maybe in a mobile cart or something, and let them be introduced on special projects before they, and then when they get to the 3rd grade, they would actually maybe take them home. But that's a lot. That's for the principals and Mr. Curtis to nail down, but that's where we're at.
So when I talk about one-to-one, at the high school, we did have one-to-one when we began this school year. This was not even on the radar to try to do one-to-one all the way down to 3rd grade. So it's certainly impossible. It would be very possible to have all the way down from 8th grade to 4th grade fully deployed here right before Thanksgiving. I would have thought that would have been impossible, but it was not. And I appreciate very much Mr. Cofer, them being very diligent. The process, you just can't get the Chromebook and and then just distribute them. Wade looked at that today and seen what all it takes to do that. And these guys doing that, I want to tell you, they did incredible work to do that and to get those 386 computers and have them moved and distributed in a matter of days is incredible work. So we've got great employees with their IT. And now when we get them, then teachers have them to utilize in their Google classrooms. My expectation for teachers is that they will be going to their classroom during this time of distance learning. They will be doing the Google Classroom. They'll do the Google Classroom. And as doing so, that my expectation are they're meeting with every class period. At every class period, they're meeting and they're going and doing the Google Classroom. The problem is that with asynchronous learners and all of that. So we'll be dealing with those asynchronous learners and doing the packets. So teachers are going to be working incredibly hard. And my expectation, they report to their school, they do their job just like what they were doing if the students were there. With the exception being, if a teacher is a case, then they will be excused to do telework. The same thing if they're a contact, that they're quarantined, that they will be excused to do telework and meet with their kids doing that. That's the exceptions. Principals will work with our teachers. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, I intend to be talking with principals first thing in the morning at 8:15. I will be having a Zoom meeting with all of the principals in regard to the expectations of doing distance learning during that time. So we've got a lot of hard work to do between now and Thanksgiving break. And I know our teachers are up to it and they can do it, but I hate this. My fellow director at DeKalb County has been out. They just extended theirs till the end of this week, another week in DeKalb. Warren County, I just received a text from the Warren County director, and Warren County is seriously looking at this also because their numbers are going up. And multiple ones are going up, and the high school Warren County now is going into the remote learning for the high school and the middle school in Warren County. So it's just not us; it's everybody that's getting this surge right now. And my hope is everybody will stay safe over the Thanksgiving holiday. That will give us multiple days. When we did the 23rd and the 24th. I was in hopes that would give us 10 days between November 20th and November the 30th that we would have in separation. Now it's going to be more than that. So I urge everyone to please be safe, distance yourself 6 feet apart in more than 15 minutes, and wear masks. And in fact, Mr. Chairman, our regional director, Dr. Grisham, said it would be very important, it would be worth considering going back and looking at required masks during this time, but we'll deal with that once we come back on November the 30th and go from there. But the surge is here, folks, and just be safe is my recommendation as your director of schools.
Greg, you kind of alluded to, but tomorrow's the 11th. What happens tomorrow?
Tomorrow, we prepare our students to do virtual learning. The high school will not matter. They're already on distance learning.
Okay.
But our elementary schools, Thursday it begins. It begins on November the 12th, Thursday, November the 12th. And I will do a bright arrow here as soon as I get out of this meeting. We will get a bright arrow out to everyone with this press release out. I ran out of time, so, but I'll get that out to everybody too. And then the schools will also be contacting, teachers will be contacting their parents individually. And we'll do multiple means of getting the word out by Thursday. So our people are working hard. We're going to have to work harder here at the onset and then all the way to November. I mean, through Thanksgiving, November the 30th. But November the 12th, tomorrow is, and then the 12th will be a transition day. Packets will be sent out, and the Google Meets will start on Friday. The 13th is when our Google Meets will start. Tomorrow is a transition day to get our teachers ready to do this, because many of them have already been doing it, except it wasn't their whole class. Now it's going to be their whole class. So the Google Meet expectation is just that. It's my expectation And it will, and we will be, we'll be checking on that through our principals. We're going to be making sure that our students are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And this is not easy, folks. It's just really not. And seeing the numbers that we have just on quarantine, we're nearly to 20% of our student body that's on quarantine now. And that to me is alarming for us. And, but like I say, we're not the only ones doing this. There are many others that are involved.
First full day back is?
November 30th will be the first full day back. It's in the press release that I just sent out. And that's already been released in social media and released to our two news outlets here in Cannon County. And we'll do every means we can to get the word out that this begins on Thursday and goes through the rest of it. But we had to have that day tomorrow to get with our teachers so they can get with those students to get their information and the packets they need out. Those lower grades, if I could, I would keep our lower grades in because they need that. They need the one-on-one instruction. They need that from their teacher. If I could, I would have done that to have gotten that. But the health department says that's what they want. They want the whole smash of that. So I know that's longer than 3 minutes, Mr. Chairman, but this is really tough stuff. Our meal distribution program, I want to emphasize the 12th, the 16th, and also the 23rd for our meal distribution program. And now the numbers continue to climb. Please be safe.
Mr. Curtis,
Yeah, go ahead, Derek.
on all this with going full virtual, I don't know how to put it, but without just being blunt, what about all of our sports? I mean, this is my opinion. If you can't be in the classroom, I don't see how we need to be practicing sports.
Understood. That is under the TSSAA, and right now we're following their recommendations of the TSSAA. Our middle grades, I talked with a coach this afternoon in regarding the middle grades, and again, under TSSAA ruling, that they can still virtually, they can still practice under the TSSAA rules. Is Mr. Nichols on board there, Mr. Kofer? Mr. Nichols, if you can unmute, and you might want to tell Mr. Mullins in regarding the TSSAA, and for those listening, what those expectations are.
Can you hear me, Mr. Curtis?
Yes, sir. We hear you fine.
Okay. TSSAA guidelines, what we're doing is we're making sure that, temperatures is still taken. They are sanitizing the equipment before and after each use. Trying their best to, as far as social distance as much as possible, but yet, we've got to scrimmage one another too on those things, especially in basketball. But as far as that goes, just doing the normal protocol. If a kid is quarantined, they can't come to practice, which, until their quarantine period is over with. So.
Mr. Nichols, in regard, basically the only ones practicing right now is basketball. Is that correct?
Correct.
So Mr. Mullins, I'll look and I'll get with our basketball, our middle grade sports coordinator, Mr. Haley. We'll talk with him, and I'll get with both coaches of the basketball teams in regard to middle grades. And basically what we've been doing with them are following the TSSAA guidelines. There at the middle grades, but I was talking.
That was my next question was, so correct me if I'm wrong, the only TSSAA rules we go by are your Cannon County High School basketball sports. Your grammar school, your middle school, and your junior pro does not go by TSSAA rules.
That is, but the middle grades do. The board voted several years ago to apply the TSSAA rules to middle grades, basketball, softball, and football. So,
but does that include your elementary ball teams, your Woodland team, your Westside team, your Auburn?
Yeah, that's right, Derek. And those the season doesn't start until much later in the season this time for the grammar
Well, I know
school.
we have several that are out. I know several schools that are conditioning, not say so calling the practice, but they have kids
Right.
coming to condition.
And
I'm
what I'll
just
do,
saying,
what I'll do-
if that season does not start, why do we have kids conditioning when they can't come to school? That's my. I'm not.
Right.
I want kids to play ball. I'm a basketball coach, a baseball coach. I'll coach whatever I can to help these kids. But I mean, just in the 5'8" junior pro team that I coach, 5 to 8 year olds, there were 70 kids that signed up. We have 9 to 10 kids on each team that are going to be with each other. Your grammar schools have that. We're not going to fix it if you still have practices every day. I mean, that's just my opinion, because basketball, you're not going to be 6 foot apart.
Right.
That's just my opinion, guys. I mean, I know this falls. I've already had some texts just sitting here asking about basketball, and it's one of them difficult things, and y'all can chime in if you want, but I feel like if the grammar school season is not starting, I don't feel like the grammar schools need to be conditioning. That's my personal opinion. Till after November 30th.
What I'll do, I'm sorry, Mr. Mullins, what I'll do is I will get with principals tomorrow. That's the purview of the athletic, with the basketball committee is basically the principals. And so when I meet with them tomorrow via Zoom, we will address that. And I feel your sentiment. If I can't have a student sitting in a classroom, why should I have a student of a grammar school trying to come to a basketball practice? I agree totally with that, Mr. Mullins, and I will address that with principals, and I think they'll probably very much agree with your sentiments there, Derek. Okay.
Thanks. I don't want to keep putting our teachers in more work, because if this is stressing our teachers out as it is going to this, and I know it's a lot of work, and as we all say every meeting, thank you for all you do. But I just feel like if we're going to go full virtual and it's recommended, then we need to really look at everything we can to cut out to get people to stay social distance and get this out of our school system, where our kids can go back to school and they can play the sports and get back to a so-called normal life. Thank you, Mr. Curtis. Thank you, Chairman.
And I will tell the board, just like I said to Mr. Mullins, we'll talk about that with our principals in the morning. And I'm assuring you that those practices will be looked at very diligently by those principals, and we'll get that taken care of. And I'll say we'll do that. Any other sentiments that you want me to relay to principals in the morning?
Anybody have anything? Okay. James?
I think that's enough, Mr. Chairman. We've had a lot to, like I say, I appreciate everybody's understanding through this event. Nothing out of, and I don't say anything about 2020 anymore, because you never know what's coming down the pike on 2020. But I appreciate everybody's diligence on this, and especially getting our kids ready to roll and seeing them back. I look forward to seeing them back on the 30th of November.
Okay. The Tennessee Department of Health has pretty much told the school system what it needs to do. And I'm not happy about that at all, but I want to reach out to the teachers and say, I'm sorry you don't have a little more time to plan, and the parents especially. It's going to make it hard in a lot of cases. I'm truly sorry on that, but it's a little bit above our heads. But I do want to implore to the parents out there, please make sure your children are doing the work assigned to them, because they're going to get behind this. We're looking at 2 years here without class time. Please make sure that they're doing their work and their assignments. Teachers, try to reach out to the parents. If you know they're not doing it, try to make sure that they're getting the education that they need. And I know that's real hard in these circumstances, but I'm imploring to you, please make sure they're doing their work. And I do apologize for the situation, but it's beyond our control.
And one thing too that I thought about, Mr. Chairman, is we have exhausted our subs. We do not have any subs that we can find now. Every school is exhausted, and they've got their local source in each individual elementary school, but county-wide, subs we can't find them. And we've been recruiting. Ms. Mullins is in charge of that. She's been recruiting, and well, we've got online where they can do the training online and working hard. And I will tell you that subs, we can't find them. So that's one of the reasons with 34 staff members out, it's hard to find that many subs. We don't have that many subs signed up in the whole system. So what's happened is we've had to combine classes when we can't find subs, and that's not any good because you can't social distance as much. So it's a challenge. Whatever school, and that's just not us either. I'll be with, after my meeting in the morning with principals, I'll be with Upper Cumberland principals with a Zoom meeting with all the superintendents, all the directors in the Upper Cumberland. I'll be with them, and this is something that we've talked about multiple times at the Upper Cumberland level. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want to make that statement as part of this deal is on the finding the substitutes.
All right, anybody got anything else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Motion's been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.